My name's Vanessa, and I'd like to share with you my experience of the Davis journey within our family. My son is severely dyslexic, and school for him started out brilliantly, but it soon became clear that he just couldn't do the same things that the other children were doing. It was such a mission to learn the spelling words. Reading became this huge battle at home. And I would stand in that playground watching the other parents compare how many sight words their children had learned and not understand why we were struggling so much. He worked so hard. The number of times I went into that classroom and spoke to the teacher, and they would say things to me like, "Oh, he's just a boy. Boys take longer." Or we'd lived in a different country, and we'd moved countries and schools. So they would say, it's just because of the change in language and education systems. But in my heart, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was. And they would tell me, just read more with your son. Oh, reading became such a battle. We would read a book and he would be amazing at describing the pictures and describing the story, and he would seem so clever. And he would read the sentence, and then we'd turn the page and he wouldn't know a word. He wouldn't know the. And I'd be like, but you just recognized it on the page before. What's going on? I would spend so much time with him doing flashcards, writing words in sand, writing them in chalk outside. And he would remember it. And I'd think, yes, we've done it. But the next week, that word had slipped out of his memory again. There were big battles around reading and spelling and writing at home, and I just didn't understand what was going on. We would have tried anything, and we did try loads of different programs that had been recommended to us. I tried toe to toe, and he was great at that, but it didn't translate into being able to recognize words and read them. We did some NLP. We did another computer-based type of program. And in that moment, my son would do okay with it, but he couldn't translate that into the classroom. I was really at my wit's end. I'll never forget the day that someone recommended the Davis program to me. And the facilitator called me and she said to me, "So what's going on? What's happening for you?" And I had to pull the car over because I was sobbing so hard, because I had this beautiful, amazing, friendly, clever, gentle child who was just getting less and less confident. School was really hard for him and he was losing his confidence. And I remember just sobbing on that phone call, saying, I just don't know what to do. The Davis facilitator changed our lives. My son did a Davis program. And at the end of those 6 days with that facilitator, he could read. I mean, it was just amazing. I'll never forget, I think it was his second day, he came home and he could spell dinosaur. I mean, I nearly fell off my chair. Over the course of the week, I learned so much about my son, and I learned what was actually happening in his brain. And I realized it wasn't just about the reading and the spelling. It was about giving him tools to be able to use in life. It was about giving him the understanding of how his brain worked and who he is. The Davis program meant that he finished that week and he could read a book for the first time without making any mistakes. His writing improved. But more than that, the biggest change that I noticed was that he felt comfortable in his own skin. It was like he realized that he was okay just as he was. It's just his brain worked differently. So for us as a family, the shift that happened was huge because we stopped all the pressure and the stress. We took away all the anxiety over reading and homework and spelling. And learning became something that was enjoyable and that he could do easily. It really gave us in the family an understanding of what was happening. And, you always think, your child is bright, or your child is clever, or just your child is normal. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even need to be bright or clever. It just needs to be your child is progressing at that same rate. And it was so hard because he would do things that showed real problem solving or creativity or amazing imagination. But then these basics were so hard. So after Davis, we really understood how his mind worked and also what was happening, why he found these trigger words so hard, why reading was so difficult for him. So we really understood his strengths and his weaknesses. But I think the most amazing thing about Davis is the self-empowerment. And, as a mum, that's all you want. You just want your children to feel happy. Well, that's all I wanted. And for us, that was the biggest change, hands down, is how we felt about himself. It made such an impact that when I returned to New Zealand and wanted a career change, I decided to train as a Davis facilitator. And it was on that journey that I discovered my own dyslexia. So my experience of the Davis program is from the mum of a child. It's also as an individual who found out they were dyslexic later on in life. And I got to understand how my brain works. And I got tools that I use every single day to help me feel calm, feel confident, feel certain, and be able to learn anything that I need to learn, to be able to understand the way the world works. So, and then I have my Davis license as a facilitator. So I can now help other families and individuals experience the amazing change that happens when you start on a Davis journey. So many methods out there are trying to get you to repeat. It's repetitive rote learning. So many methods out there are trying to get you to think in a way that your brain naturally doesn't think. The beautiful thing about Davis is it's a whole person approach. Because it's been developed by someone who is dyslexic themselves, there's a real understanding that it's not just about being able to spell. It's about your self-belief. It's about the anxiety and stress that we feel when we are put on the spot, or we do need to read or do maths. And it's about giving you tools that you can use in all areas of your life. So I can truly say that my son being dyslexic has changed the whole trajectory of my career and my life. Being introduced to Davis is like being part of a huge family of people that are supportive, who think like you do, and who really value each individual for just who they are. I wouldn't change my son being dyslexic, and I wouldn't change my own dyslexia. But that's because I truly understand what's happening in our brains and how to harness our dyslexic abilities. I really encourage you, reach out, find a Davis facilitator near you and go and have a chat. If your child is struggling, if you're struggling, there is a better way.